Hello everyone, welcome back to Iron Shield Media. Today we're delving into a startling and significant statement from the leadership of the NATO. A senior admiral has declared that Vladimir Putin has already lost the war in Ukraine. That assertion grabs attention, and for good reason it forces us to take a close look at how the conflict has unfolded, what objectives Russia had, where things stand today, and what this means for the future for Ukraine, Russia, and the alliance of Western nations. So let's explore the exterior, the interior, the performance, the safety features, the unique selling points, the price, yes, the cost of this war, and then draw our conclusion. Let's begin with the exterior. By exterior, I mean how this war looks from the outside, the battlefield, the alliances, the optics, the show of force. From the very start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the world saw a dramatic military action, massive troop movements, heavy armor, air operations, and a rapid escalation. The exterior shows the raw power of a major state engaging its neighbor, expecting a swift victory. There were dramatic images of columns of tanks, airstrikes, cities under siege, and refugees streaming across borders. On the side of NATO, the exterior shows expansion, increased deployments, public declarations of support for Ukraine, and a shift in defense postures across Europe. For example, as reported, the Admiral pointed out that the invasion of Ukraine triggered the accession of two more countries, Finland and Sweden, to NATO. The new voice of Ukraine, +2 News Ukraine, or BC. On that exterior view, we see the pieces moving, Russia seeking to assert dominance, Ukraine resisting with support, and NATO recalibrating its posture. That exterior shapes the narrative we all see. Next, a word about the interior. What's going on beneath the surface, inside the war, inside the strategy, inside the alliances? The interior is often less glamorous than tanks and missiles. It's logistics, morale, command structure, political will, economic resilience, and strategic clarity. Short version, Russia's interior picture is now far less favorable than it may have seemed at the outset. The interior of Ukraine's defense shows strong will, external support, and adaptability. On the other side, the interior of Russia's effort shows strategic mismatch, cost burdens, and underachievement relative to goals. The Admiral said the war has reached a stalemate and is practically time for negotiations. News Ukraine, RBC, +1, that's a powerful interior insight. The escalation has been high, but the operational momentum has stalled. The machinery of war is active, yet the strategic objectives are slipping. So that is the interior picture in short. Now let's examine performance. In product review speak, how has Russia's performance been, and how has Ukraine, NATO's performance been in this war? Russia's performance, it entered with high expectations of rapid victory, but according to the Admiral, the outcome is turning into a strategic failure. He says Russia will not get a friendly or puppet government like in Belarus, in Ukraine. Facti, BG+1, Russia's performance has been hampered by logistics, coordination, morale, and international pressure. Meanwhile, Ukraine's performance, bolstered by external support, by resilient defense, by adaptive tactics, has held the line and prevented Russia from achieving its main goals. Further, NATO's performance in terms of responding, reinforcing its eastern flank, supporting Ukraine's defense capacities, has been significant. So overall, the performance differential is shifting. The side that expected to dominate is finding itself stuck. Let's talk about safety features. In a war review context, safety features translates more to resilience, defense mechanisms, risk mitigation, strategic protections. From a NATO perspective, the alliance has reaffirmed its collective defense commitment for example, Article 5, and signaled readiness to defend Eastern members. The Admiral highlighted that Europe has had a wake-up call and is now taking more responsibility for its own security. News Ukraine, RBC, +1 for Ukraine. The safety features include sustained Western support, weapons, intelligence, economic aid, strong domestic resolve, and an emerging defensive posture. In contrast, Russia's safety features are weaker economic sanctions biting, supply lines stressed, strategic overreach, political and diplomatic isolation. In other words, the war's safety net for Russia is fraying. Now for the unique selling points. If this war were a product in a metaphorical market of global power politics, what are its standout features? 1. The conflict has forced a major shift in NATO's posture and Europe's defense architecture. The Admiral explicitly called the war a strategic defeat for Russia and pointed to the fact that Russia's invasion accelerated NATO expansion rather than prevented it. The new voice of Ukraine won too. The narrative that a major power could quickly subjugate its neighbor is shattered. The war has become a symbol of resistance and the limits of traditional military power in modern conflict. 3. The global security order is being recalibrated. This war is not just Ukraine vs. Russia, it's Europe vs. revisionist power, NATO vs. challengers, defense alliances vs. aggression. That makes it uniquely important, for the price of miscalculation has been underscored. Russia gambled and now may pay a heavy cost, not just financially, but in terms of strategic position, international standing, and long-term security. Speaking of price, let's talk about that. The price in literal and figurative terms. For Russia, the price includes massive military expenditure, heavy losses in manpower and equipment, economic sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and now a declared strategic defeat, according to NATO's military committee chair. The new voice of Ukraine, Russia's failure to achieve its objectives, installing a puppet regime, controlling Ukraine's government, achieving decisive victory, means the sunk cost is enormous and returns are minimal. For Ukraine and its allies, the price is also heavy: human lives lost, infrastructure destroyed, immense economic burdens, and the challenge of reconstruction ahead. But in contrast, they may gain in strategic position, alliance reinforcement, global backing. So the price-vs. return picture favors Ukraine-NATO rather than Russia at present. The cost per gain ratio looks very unfavorable for Russia. Now, what does this really mean? Let's summarize the key argument. The Admiral argues that Putin has lost the war, not necessarily that every city or district is liberated, but that Russia has already lost strategically. That means Russia has failed to achieve its war aims, has strengthened the very alliance NATO it sought to undermine, has consumed vast resources for minimal gains, and is facing a stalemate from which it cannot easily break free. The statement that is practically time for negotiations signals that Russia no longer holds the initiative and is in a position of weakness rather than strength. We thus move from thinking about this war as a blitz to being about attrition and negotiation. And in that scenario, the side that initiated aggression rarely emerges favorably. Let's take a moment to look at the implications. For Ukraine, this is a psychological and strategic boost. If a NATO admiral publicly states Russia has lost, it bolsters Ukraine's morale, supports its position in future negotiations, and sends a strong message to allies that the war is winnable, or at least that the opponent is weakened. For NATO and Europe, it validates the alliance's relevance, underlines the importance of collective defense, and may accelerate defense investments, readiness, and enlargement. For Russia, it is a warning sign that its war strategy has backfired. The war exposed internal vulnerabilities, stretched resources, weakened command structures, and triggered responses, sanctions, isolation, NATO expansion that undermine Russia's long-term goals. For global security, this conflict may be a turning point. Aggressor states may face steeper consequences. Defense alliances may become more resolute. The idea of a quick military victory may be revisited, and strategic patience, resilience, and alliance cohesion may become more central. Now let me cover a few more detailed dimensions. First, did Russia underestimate Ukraine, underestimate the West, underestimate the alliance effect? Most analysts say yes. The Admiral's statement echoes that by saying Russia will not get what it aimed for, a puppet government, quick victory. Facti. BG Plow, when Russia's invasion prompted Finland and Sweden to join NATO, an outcome opposite to what Russia sought. That alone is historically significant because NATO, created to deter aggression, has added members precisely because of this conflict. That is a major reversal of Russia's intention. Second, the war has reached a stalemate. On the battlefield, Russia cannot decisively break Ukraine. Ukraine cannot yet push Russia entirely out, though it may in timing. The Admiral said the war is at a deadlock, Ukraine. RB Sewa, in a deadlock, initiative matters less than endurance and strategy. The side with stronger support, better logistics, and stronger alliances tends to prevail in the long run. Third, the idea of negotiations emerges now because Russia's losses and Ukraine's resilience force diplomacy. The Admiral says it's practically time for negotiations because it is a pointless waste of human lives. Facty. BG that suggests that Russia now must negotiate from a weaker position. Fourth, the cost of the war has ballooned for Russia politically, militarily, and financially, more so than the gains. That means the war's return on investment is negative for Russia. Meanwhile, for Ukraine, while the cost is also huge, the return may be positive, defending sovereignty, gaining international support, strengthening alliances, setting precedent. Fifth, looking ahead, what happens next? If negotiation comes, Ukraine enters from a position of strength, or at least from a non-losing position. Russia enters from weakness. That may shape the peace terms, reconstruction, future security architecture. For NATO, this may prompt a deeper shift towards readiness, eastern flank focus, and deterrence. Let's now draw the conclusion. The statement by the NATO Admiral is bold, but grounded in observable facts: Russia's war aims being unmet, the war being stalemated, NATO support strong and expanding, alliance enlargement happening, Ukraine holding its ground. By those metrics, Russia has lost, not necessarily completely yet, but strategically. We can say that Putin's gamble has failed in its primary objectives. That doesn't mean the war is over tonight. It means the strategic picture is already defined and Russia is in the weaker seat. For audiences, the takeaway is this: conflicts are not decided purely by blitz or raw force. They are decided by strategy, alliance cohesion, logistics, morale, resource endurance, international support. In that broader view, Russia lost before the final battles were fought. That is the message. So if you're seeking to understand not just battlefield moves, but the grand strategic view of this war, the why behind the headlines, then this analysis gives you that vantage point. That's all for today. If you found this valuable, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you're notified of future deep dives into global security, defense strategy, and major conflicts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one on Iron Shield Media.